to the Thought Snob Podcast. I'm Paula Swope. Let's get snobby. This is part 2 with Heather Bryant. If you missed part 1, you should go back and listen to the December 17th episode. In part 2, Heather goes way deeper with her channeled messages.
Do you mind? Let me just plug in and see here real quick. Let me look.
Oh, I don't mind at all.
Okay. Yeah. You might have to cut this piece out while I look. Just let me look real quick.
Sure.
This is really interesting. I really like to go deeper on this. I'm so curious. I'm always so curious. With my clients, I always end up I'll be shown something and then I go down the rabbit hole on my own and then I come out and share them all the information, things that they haven't even asked because I'm so curious. But part of, you're sharing people's stories. So you have people on, and this is just I'm just speaking about your podcast, but whatever it is that you've learned in your life, you found your voice. You have, and also I feel a fire. I feel a warrior within, and you now, what you're doing just with sharing other people's stories and viewpoints and experiences, you would not have stepped into this as firmly and strongly and as dedicated as you are had you not experienced what you experienced. So you came to tell. Now this goes way deeper than this. I'm just staying high level here. I would
Sure.
love to see the details, but you came to. They're saying you came to share other people's voices. You came to show other ways of thinking and doing things and expanding people's minds. And this started in childhood with what you saw or felt or did not being right. It was not good enough. It was never good enough. You're not seen, you're not heard, etc. So that created the person that you have become. And now you're using that fire to share people's stories. You would not be doing this had you not experienced what you experienced in your life. So you have soul contracts with everybody that has, hurt you or challenged you in your life to shape you into the woman that you've become in order for you to step into what you came to do. And I see this all the time. So I always tell people, thank the narcissist, thank the people that brought you here, because you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. And this is just one little, I'm just speaking about you sharing people's voices. I'd love to see how this is playing out in your life, but in other ways. But it's all thanks to the soul contracts you have with these people to create those conditions for you. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. And it's like I could have used my free will to my advantage or my disadvantage. And thank God I used it to my advantage, or I would still be stuck. I would absolutely still be stuck in that exact same life that I had 20 years ago and then prior to that. And I would not be sitting here talking to you right now. I can tell you that. I mean, I don't know where I would be, but it wouldn't be in a good place.
So what happens is somewhere at some point in your life, you said, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so to get to that point to where you're at now, right? So you're using your voice, you're sharing your voice, you've stepped into your confidence, you're believing in yourself. Now there might still be some remnants, little voice in, from childhood, but for the most part, you've stepped into your mission and your purpose and you're doing what you're meant to be doing. In order to get you here, your higher self is going to continue to bring you the challenges that will get you to the point where you call out and you say, I'm done. Just like 5 years ago for me, I was bullied to the point where I finally said, if there's anything out there that can help me, help me. And then my life changed. So if you hadn't at some point said, no more, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to allow these people into my life like this anymore, experience these things anymore. If you hadn't done that, it would still be happening. And what happens is, they will turn up your guides, your higher self will turn up the heat in your life to make things more difficult and more difficult and more difficult because of the law of free will and non-intervention. They can't make you do something different. They can't redirect you overtly. They can make things difficult so that you are encouraged to go a different direction. Mm-hmm. So at some point you were encouraged to say no more. And then those things will have slowed down for you. The trauma, the abusers or whatever, the people that are not supporting you, those things have slowed down and they will trickle off if they haven't already because you have made a different choice. And that's how it works. That's how soul contracts work.
Well, and that's exactly how things have worked with me. And there are remnants, but they are trickling off.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
they are. And a lot of that has to do with my free will and me wanting them to, and me being open to that stuff going away. When some people just accept it and think that they have to deal with whatever because it's coming from a biological family member, or it's coming from a boss or a friend. Well, I'm stuck in this situation. No, I'm not stuck in any situation. And that's how I view things. But it's a different view than I had. I'm saying 20 years ago, because 20 years ago is when I really started questioning things and started going down this path and doing all of the inner work. And with that said, everything that you just said, I have said this 1,000 times. If they would start teaching kids this in kindergarten, just start planting a seed that, guess what? You can create whatever you want. It's up here, okay? It's up here. That nobody ever told me that. Like, nobody ever told me that. When I was first introduced to the concept of conscious creation, it was absolutely foreign to me. It was foreign. And Wayne Dyer is the person who just came along, and I listened to him, and he made more sense to me than anybody ever had. And I was captivated. And it's like I wanted to just know more. Like, I could not get enough of him. I was like binging his books and watching his PBS specials. And I just, it changed my whole world. If somebody would have just said to me in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, whatever, that everything that I was being told wasn't necessarily the truth. Like, my whole identity, honest to God, was built on some of the most outrageous lies ever. But all they do in K through 12 is stick you in a classroom and treat you like a group versus an individual, and they turn you into some kind of a robot. Not everybody sleeps on the same schedule. Not everybody learns the same way. Not everybody needs to be in a room full of fucking people all day. It's like an energy overload. If you don't operate like that, I can go on about this forever. It's like the news. It's there. It's this institution that's there to brainwash, control, and make people worry. Because if you're worried, you're not at peace, you're not confident, so you can be controlled.
And who benefits from that?
Not the person being controlled. It's
the
people
system
up here. It's the system. It's the system. And it infuriates me to hear people say that there's only one way to make money, and it's in a job with an employer who controls your freaking time. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. And that is not true. Unless you believe it's true, just like you said about, hell earlier. If you believe that you're put here on this earth to allow another human being to control you and own your time in exchange for just a little bit of money, that is not the way that things are supposed to be.
Well, that's why, I've been channeling this for a couple of years now. And I think this is what they wanted me, these groups of beings wanted me to start sharing when I got on TikTok a year ago. And I didn't want to get on because I had a total misunderstanding what TikTok was.
Oh, but I didn't want to get on there either.
I didn't know. I thought, I was like, why do I want to get on a dancing app
and start dancing around? Yeah, so I'm not doing this. Yeah.
Turns out there's a lot of truth there, and that's why they poo-poo it, and that's why they make you think China's going to steal your information and all the other lies they tell about, anyway, I'm not going to go there. But I started channeling this a couple of years ago, and it blew my mind, and it makes so much sense. When there's a saying, and I can't think of the words right now, but usually the truth is usually something that is the most obvious. You don't have to it's not covered with a bunch of layers of things you have to try to figure out, right? That's what they tell us truth is, but it's because they're trying to layer things over the real truth and keep us from the truth. And when I channeled that, there's four main pillars of control that are collapsing, and it's political structures, banking and finance, Western medicine, and my guides say the most corrupt system on the planet that's collapsing right now is education system. The education system was set up to disconnect us from our intuition, our higher self. So you're taking a 3, 4, 5 year old, putting them in a classroom. They're learning to be quiet. They're learning, sit and be quiet, sit still, sit at a desk, listen to people regurgitating information. You get graded on what you can regurgitate back. And what they teach you is not even real. When you go down that rabbit hole, that's a whole nother mind-blowing thing. But what they teach us about history and who we really are and religion, it's not even real. It's all to control us. So the people who created the education system are the same people who created the medical system and the same people who are benefiting from the corporate industrial complex. So the education system was created to create workers, not individual critical thinkers. And critical thinking is poo-pooed. And I could go on about this all day, but what they've shown me is I have a lot of clients with kids who are on a spectrum, autism, ADHD, etc. And what
that's
they've
a whole
shown
other
me,
thing.
Totally other thing. But what they showed me is that our souls have chosen to come in, and now they might have gotten those things from external situations, but they knew what they were getting into, and they chose to have this gift, is what they call it, because it keeps them from being manipulated like the rest of us. So there's so many children are on the spectrum right now, and they are literally rejecting school. And what they've said is, and they've shown me, and I have many clients with kids who, some of them, this is their first human incarnation. They're here to show us what's wrong. They're here to show us how that this system needs to be collapsed, that creating little workers and cogs in the wheel are only benefiting the people at the top that are making all the money from us. And that we need to be listening to them when they say they're talking to something that we can't see. When they talk about their memories of another lifetime, we need to be listening to them when they say, I can't sit in a chair for 6 hours without moving. I can't. We need to be listening to them because they're here to show us what needs to be collapsed. So we're at the very beginning stages of people starting to see this. And be in creating the new systems, and you're here for that. One of the things you're here to do is to help expose some of the holes and some of the gaps, so that people like some of my other clients can fill those gaps with the ideas and downloads they're getting. So supplemental education. I have clients that are here to work with children and teaching them how to stay connected to their higher self, to stay connected to their intuition, spiritual practices, so that even if the kids are going to school, they know very clearly that who they are, what they're doing here, and where they're meant to be going. And they can compartmentalize school and not let that derail them or teach them that there's something that they're not. So it's very exciting.
The thought of it is very exciting. And if the K through 12 system would just I know that maybe they think that they are empowering kids, teenagers through education, but actually, in my opinion, the curriculum is the opposite of that, because they're not teaching kids anything about themselves. It's all exterior. It's not anything empowering. Okay. So I understand that some people are meant for, let's say, micromanagement, but some people aren't. And those two types of people, they can't thrive in the same environment. It's just not conducive to really learning, and it's certainly not conducive to any type of self-empowerment, period. I don't know what your experiences were in school, but school, that's really, that was like, it was horrible. I mean, those were the years that my self-esteem was destroyed. I hated it. Like, I cannot tell you how bad I hated it. And I did well. Like, I did very, very well as a student until I hit high school. And then everything just really went to hell in a handbasket. But they don't teach kids what their true power is, and it's not in a textbook. It's not.
That's on purpose. That's on
Yeah,
purpose.
it's
So
here.
there are people, like there's a lot of teachers, a lot of medical doctors, there's a lot of people in these corrupt structures that got into them to do good. They want to do good, but they're handcuffed, their hands are tied because they have to teach what the system is telling them to teach. The system is literally created to keep us disconnected from who we really are. It's not about individuality. It's not about identifying what your natural gifts are. Like a lot of times, my clients, the information that comes through for them is when they're upset and they're miserable in their job or they're unhappy in their life, it's what did you like when you were little before it was wiped from you? And that's usually what they're meant to be doing. It's something connected to that. So where it's wiped from us because this system doesn't benefit. And these people who created the education system and all these other systems, they are very spiritual. They're not positive, they're not loving beings, but they understand spiritual concepts and they know that these souls are coming in little human bodies who can't speak yet. And from the time we're in the womb and come out of the womb, we're told how to be, what our beliefs are, coming down from our caretakers. And our caretakers went through the same thing, our parents, right?
Right.
So these people who created these systems know very well that we're spiritual beings, and they know that there's advanced souls coming in to make change. And that's why they as soon as we can go to the bathroom on our own, we're in the system and we're being told to conform and that we have to be little soldiers and get in line and get a 9 to 5 job because that's how they benefit. And for just really quickly, my school, they're reminding me to say this is that so I went to a very small private school in a house until 4th grade, and then my mom pulled my brother out. He was having trouble with socially. She pulled him out to homeschool him, and I wanted to be homeschooled too. I was like, I want to stay home from school too. I didn't know what it was, so she homeschooled us. And I went back to a school in 7th grade. The second I got back into 7th grade, I was pulled into the TAG program, the Talented and Gifted program.
Oh yeah, I was in that too.
Okay, so I don't know if you know this, but it was a program created by the CIA,
Really?
and yes, I actually know the woman whose ex father-in-law created the program. He was in CIA, and I have documents I can send them to you to show you. But I just learned all this recently. It started coming into my awareness, and my guides are having me do something about this now. But they were able to look forward, Project Looking Glass, and they were able to look forward at some of these really I guess, gifted individuals, and they pulled them into this program. Now, some of them did tag on campus. I was one of the ones that was pulled off campus, and tests were done, and they wiped my memories. I only have 2 memories of the entire time I was in this program. So they pull these gifted people in, knowing that we're here for something big, and it's connected to MK Ultra. It's a mind control program. So this system is not about supporting children and their natural gifts and supporting them in identifying what brings them joy and how can they create a life and a lifestyle from that. It's about how do we make clones of each other? How do we make a bunch of people that can get into the system and keep the system going, right, for the people above? So they're not going to change the system. They've shown me this, that the system will not be changed. It has to collapse. And there are people here, many of them are my clients, they're here to create the new system. So none of these systems are going to be fixed. They're all going to collapse. And there are a lot of star seeds and light warriors, if you want to call them that, but people who are here to create the new systems from their wisdom. And people like you might be part of this, but there's people like you that are here to shine light on these things, to get the word out, right? It's this web of all of these star seeds coming to earth, and this web of how do we all support each other in collapsing all of these things that don't support us in creating the new earth. So the system's not going to be fixed. And there's a lot of teachers and medical doctors that are leaving those systems, which is going to help allow them to collapse more, because they're waking up and going, I don't want to teach these kids these things. They're being pushed to be put on medication so that they'll conform and sit and numb out and listen to the teacher and regurgitate. That's not how we're meant to live. So there's a lot of people leaving those systems, and it'll help them collapse.
How messed up is it that property taxes determine the quality of education that a kid gets? I live in the state of Kentucky. I worked in the poverty pocket for years in the K through 12 school districts in some of the poorest counties in the nation. It is disgraceful, the differences in the inequality that exist between a poor school and a more in a wealthy school. There
That's
are
by
no
design.
words. There are no
That's by
words.
design. Yep.
And it is the epitome of of inequality, and it sets the pace for the kid. They rarely escape. I've seen it. They rarely escape. They stay right there in that poverty pocket. And there are so many talented kids that are behind the cash register at the damn Dollar General when they should be, their painting should be hanging in a museum somewhere. We need to cultivate that. But it's not going to. I don't believe it's going to ever going to happen. It would take restructuring the entire world in order to bring about any kind of change in the K through 12 school system. You'd have to
It's going,
totally dismantle the whole thing, like the whole way the world works.
yeah, it's going to happen, but it's not going to be within that system. The new system's going to be created. So it's going to be, decades before we're seeing all this, but we're at the very beginning stages of starting to create the new system. And I have a lot of clients again, this is what I'm here for apparently, but I have a lot of clients that are being drawn again to create supplemental education, to start teaching parents of natural healing modalities, so they're not putting their kids on ADHD medicine, and instead they're doing magnesium treatments or some, things that are relieving the symptoms that the medical doctors are being, putting them on medication for. So we're at the very, 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 very beginning stages of this. People starting to wake up and realize that things aren't working and they want to make a difference, and they're starting to step into it. So the children are the ones who are going to actually be really creating the new system. So there's people in their 40s, 50s, 60s right now starting to starting to create the structure, but it's really the children that are going to be creating the new system. It's not going to change because the system is built on greed and control, and they're not going to give it's all by design. The lower income neighborhoods, etc., they're viewed at a certain way. They don't look at them as being able to contribute to their global pyramid society that they've created. So they don't get the same education. They don't look at children as equal. They look at children as workers for the corporate industrial complex, and that's why you're going to have the more richer neighborhoods, etc. Also, what they're saying here, this is all things that I'm just now learning. What they're saying also is that those poor neighborhoods aren't able to, in most cases, send their kids to college, and college is another scam. You have to have a college education to be a medical doctor and to be a lawyer, but most of the time, when you go to college, you end up coming out and not actually working in the degree that you have, and you have $100,000 of loans to pay back. That's all goes to the corporate industrial complex. So the richer neighborhoods, if you are giving them better education and they're getting into college, they are now supporting the industrial complex. So when you start to see what's really going on, you'll see it's all about money, it's all about greed, it's all about control. So they're going to promote the areas that are going to continue that system going. It's not about more talent, it's about who can financially support the system so the people at the top can make all the money. Yeah. In fact, I have a very good friend who was a college professor, and he said he left about 15 years ago. He left the system. He said, when I realized that the system was 100% set up to take advantage of young people and just take money from them with not really giving anything in return, he said, I couldn't support the system anymore, and he left. So
I have to ask you this, and it's not like I'm totally completely changing the subject, but I'm mesmerized by you just getting like information from your spirit guides in real time.
Yeah.
So I'm mesmerized. Like I want to be able to do that, but it's not audible, right?
Not like that. Not like don't drink tonight. Like when I was told not drink tonight, It hasn't happened in that way ever since. But it is audible where I can hear it. It's in my mind. I can hear it. But it's a combination of hearing and then like this knowing. It's like a telepathic push of information. And then when I'm formally channeling, like I just did a little bit ago, and I tuned in, they will also bring images. So I will see, and then I will get this like telepathic stamp of information. How I explain it to people, it's like if you were to look at like a Van Gogh painting, and if you look at the painting, you're taking it all in, and you can see all the beauty, and in 5 seconds, you're taking in the beauty. If you try to explain to someone what that painting looks like, it would take you 5-10 minutes to try to explain where the colors were and the shapes and the feelings you got from it. That's telepathy. So telepathy is getting all of the information in a stamp. Like I call it a stamp. You get the information downloaded in a second, and then it takes time to verbally articulate that information, because telepathy is, in my opinion, faster than speed of light. It's just like this boom. So that's what's happening. They're sending me pushes of telepathic information in.
That is, it's incredible. So
It's so cool.
who are they? Like, who are our spirit guides?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who are they?
So high level, our spirit guides are a combination of, actually, I'm asking, hold on, let me just ask them how they want me to answer this.
Okay.
Our spirit guides are a combination of ancestors. They also could be a combination of souls that we've incarnated with before that might not be in physical form right now that are supporting us.
Mm-hmm.
They can also be ascended masters. They can also be angels, and they can be other beings. So, for instance, okay, they're saying that one of my main guides, and I don't really talk about this a lot because it's hard to explain, but one of my main guides is Orion. And I didn't know what that meant when he first showed himself to me. He showed himself in a masculine form, and I felt it. It was so, he's so powerful. And I thought Orion, it was Orion, and Orion is a star system. So
Yeah.
what does that mean? So what they say is that everything is an energy. So I'm channeling an energy of a star system. So they could be a combination of things. And what they're saying here, they're reminding me, this comes in sometimes when I'm channeling for people, that depending on where you're at, what need you have, like, are you struggling in a relationship, are you struggling to make a decision, are you struggling with health, you might have a different spirit guide that might step in and give you direction based on their expertise or their forte, what they have had experience in. So you have, it's like a team of, they're saying it's about like usually 10 to 15 guides that you have on your team, and it can vary in those forms.
That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's cool.
It is so
We're never
cool.
alone. We're never alone. And just
No,
like you
we're
were
not.
saying,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you get the synchronicities become stronger and more prevalent the
Oh,
more you're
yeah.
in joy and living your and staying out of fear. Really, they always say stay out of fear, stay in joy as much as you can. Then the synchronicities will come. So your whole team is always there for you. They're saying right now, sometimes they feel like they're silent because it's something that you're meant to experience and go through. And there is no, they're showing me like a buoy being thrown out into the ocean. Sometimes you can't get a buoy because you need to experience the thing, because it's part of shaping you into who you are. But you can still connect to your higher self and your guides, and they will send you love. You might say, I need help. They might not give you the answer on what to do because you need to figure that out, but they might say, trust, keep going, you're loved, you're not alone. So they will never leave you, but they will give more or less support depending on what you need and,
Yeah.
and what you're experiencing.
Every single time that I have started a new project, anytime I've taken a risk, before I got married, any like major decisions, or anytime like a major manifestation was getting ready to show up, I would experience profound synchronicity. And it was usually during, of course, it's always when you least expect it. And I mean, it's so innocent. That's what makes it absolutely freaking magical. But usually it was during a time when I knew that something better was coming in, but I was maybe doubting it or overthinking it, or getting wrapped up in the hows and the whys, and all those questions that just really just block us. But I would see, I would experience the synchronicity, and I'd be like, phew, okay. And the moment that comes in, then I can let that doubt go, and I can let any, if I'm skeptical about something that I really want, is it really coming or something? I let it go. I'm able to do that. I can do that, and that's why the synchronicity in my life is it's miraculous. And until you experience it, it's just like you're talking about looking at the Van Gogh painting. Until you experience it, me explaining this right now and saying it's magical, it's innocent, it happens when you least expect it, it knocks you off your feet, it doesn't mean anything until you actually experience it.
100%. Can I share a story
Oh, I'd love it.
of
Yes.
synchronicity?
Yeah.
So when I was at the bank and I'm always defending the defenseless. I'm always defending the underdog since I was a kid.
Me
And
too.
I'm small. Okay, you're a warrior too.
Yeah.
You're totally a warrior for
Yeah.
sure. When I left the bank, they made it very clear. They said, you're not meant to go after and look for things to people to rescue. It's going to become clear who you're supposed to help. Because I spent a lot of my life like looking, okay, who needs help? Who needs help? I'm always picking up lost animals, and they're like, and I'll continue to do that. But they said, let us show you how you will know it's for you. And so after I left the big city and I moved into the forest about 3.5 years ago, I was sitting on my couch and not planning on going anywhere. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes to get to the highway, and then another 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes to get into town. So I don't leave my property more than a couple times a month. I'm happy here in the forest. And I got this overwhelming urge to go into town. I just felt like I had to go into town. I'm like, where is this coming from? And I didn't get up. And it got to the point where it felt like somebody almost shoved me up off the couch. I'm like, okay, fine. I don't know why, but I'm having this huge urge to go into town. Like if you're having a craving for something to eat or whatever, it's just like this huge urge. So I got dressed, I got in my car, and I get to the freeway and I witness a head-on collision. And long story short, rescue crew comes in and they take the mother and daughter to the hospital in town. And it was their only car. They were living in a small little trailer, very, very poor in the forest somewhere. And so I went and picked up the dad and I took him to the hospital. And the mother had told the rescue crew that she had smoked weed early that morning from chronic pain. She has metal in her body. She's in chronic pain all the time. And so because at 3:30 when she got in the accident, she told them that she had smoked at 8, they took her kids from her. So they put them into a temporary situation. Luckily it was with a friend for about 2 weeks. And she calls me about 2 weeks later and says, hysterically crying, saying that she was text messaged from CPS and they said they were going to take her children and send them to another state. And they weren't going to tell her where or who, but they are now in the system because she's not fit to parent. And I channeled this through. I said, you need to text them back and say, we're no longer talking over text message. This is all going to be done over email. I want to know, when were my kids interviewed? Who was there as a representative on their behalf? What were they asked? And what laws or regulations were broken to cause you to send their kids away? So she did that. And she calls me back about 3 hours later, crying again, saying that after she did that, a manager calls her and says, oh, oops, sorry, we made a mistake. And they gave her kids back. So they went from wanting to send them to a totally another state. This is a corrupt system. They went from wanting to send them to their state to releasing them back to her because she stood up for herself, because the system was preying on poor people, disadvantaged people who looked poor, who couldn't defend themselves. Right. So my guide said, this is how you know this is for you. I thought that when I witnessed the head-on collision and I ended up buying them groceries and taking care of them for a couple of weeks, I thought that was why, but it was because they knew what was coming and that somebody like me, who is always there to help the defenseless, was going to give them the direction, which I channeled, on how to get their kids back. So those are synchronicities, that's the universe saying, this is for you, these right. Things are lining up. And when you follow those nudges, and this keeps coming in as you're sharing too about synchronicities, they're saying again that the synchronicities don't always make sense. A lot of times they won't make sense. Your logical mind can't make sense of why something's coming to you, why you're being nudged to do something. And that's how you know it's from above. It's from your higher self. It's from spirit. It's from source. It's because it's when it doesn't seem to make sense that it turns into the most beautiful, miraculous outcome. And that's why they say we have to let go of the logical. Our logical mind has been hijacked since childhood to reason and be logical instead of going inward for our direction. But direction and synchronicities will always come in profound ways that won't seem to make sense. We just have to trust and take the step, and then we can see the outcome.
You're exactly right. I've had a lot of profound episodes of synchronicity, and two really stand out, and I'll share one of them with you, and it's one I talk about this in my book. This happened 1 week before I met Will, my husband. And when he came along, he was the opposite of any man that I had encountered, ever, and which was a good thing. That was a good thing. And then after I met him a week later, then I got a job promotion. Now I wasn't meant to be in that job, but I got a promotion. Just I guess it was probably just a few days after I guess I met Will. What I'm getting to is those two things ended up producing some pretty life changing circumstances down the road. So a week before I met him, I was driving down the interstate on my way to work, and I typically don't listen to the radio or listen to any music or anything, especially when I used to have a commute to work. I would use that time as like the only quiet, free time that I had. It would be on my commute to work or on the way home. So I'm driving down the interstate, and it's silent in the car, as it always was. And I don't know, like, this song popped in my head. Happiness was Lubbock, Texas, in my rearview mirror. And that is a song that I hadn't heard. Don't even remember, the last time I heard that song. Haven't heard it since. And for whatever reason, that song popped in my head, and I reached up, turned on the radio, and it was playing.
See?
And then I looked at the clock, and it was 8:11. Well, anytime that a life-changing manifestation has come in, I've seen 811 or 1811 before. And at that point, I had seen 1811 and 811 a lot, and I was familiar with that number sequence and what it was meant for me. And it knocked me off my feet so hard that I seriously almost had to pull the car over on the side of the road. But that was one day that I actually went to work, and I was so like joyful because I knew that what I wanted was coming. I didn't know when, but I knew that what I wanted was coming, and everything that I had been envisioning was coming. And it did. It did. And it had way more to do with getting married or switching careers. It was big picture stuff. But that day was significant. That episode was significant.
Did you ever look up or done research on what 811 means? What does it mean in spiritual or angel number?
Yeah, it means, and I've seen various definitions, but manifestation, your thoughts are manifesting, abundance.
So cool.
Yeah. And so combining the energies of like 8 and 1 together, it's just like a powerhouse combination for me. It's your thoughts are manifesting. It's coming better than what you thought. Abundance is involved. You're a magnet for abundance, basically. But I see that number sequence right before something life-changing happens. And it's usually within, it can be a week, it can be 2 weeks, it can be, if it's a few months, then I will see it repeatedly leading up to it, and then it'll dwindle off after the big manifestation comes in. It's been a pattern. It's been a pattern, and I noticed it. Like I said, I'm 47. I really started noticing that pattern starting in my early 30s. I was probably about 30 or 31 because I was a tough case, and it took a long time for me to get to where I was supposed to be and get aligned and like I said, clear out all that garbage. And so it was almost like those synchronicities started happening with me to let me know that everything that I was doing was working, even though that things might have still been hard and challenging. The synchronicity still showed up, and I think some people get that confused, because synchronicity can absolutely, you can experience that and be in your darkest hour.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Yeah,
Yeah. Was
yeah,
there. Yeah.
right. It's
Yeah.
not all.
I was
Yeah,
I was seeing 555 and I was still getting bullied and abused and standing up against the corruption. And it took several months before, I was out of there. So what they were saying as you were sharing that is that two things, those angel numbers or asynchronicities are coming in for encouragement. But also it's the encouragement is meant to encourage you to keep your vibe high and to stay and continue to envision what it is that you want instead of what it is that you're experiencing. Because if we keep focusing on what we're experiencing and what we're experiencing is not what we want, we're going to get more of what we don't want. So
right.
the angel numbers coming in are encouraging you to keep a high vibration, keep envisioning what it is that you want, and that speeds up the manifestation, they're saying. So for anybody listening and watching, it's, watch for those synchronicities, watch for those angel numbers, and when you see them, take them as a sign from your guides. They're saying all this right now. Take this as a sign that good things are coming. And it's important for you to take the steps that come, take the actions that come to you, but remain in a high vibe. Whatever you need to do, set the boundaries, get out and ground, go into nature, whatever it is to raise your vibration. That literally speeds up the timing of the manifestation.
Mm-hmm. It does, and I've experienced that myself.
So cool.
Mm-hmm. I've experienced that, and I have to work at it. And I'm human, and I have to stick with the envisioning. And the envisioning is how I have consciously created everything.
Mm.
It's the envisioning. And when I didn't have any money, no support, no resources, had nowhere to turn, and everybody thought I was crazy because I was talking different, acting different, and talking about meditation and stuff. And finally, I just stopped talking about it because they were, making fun of me. I took it up here. Like I started envisioning, and every single thing that I saw has come to fruition. And of course, now the things that I'm envisioning is a totally different game. But every single thing that I envisioned, back 20 years ago, leading up to when I was in my early 30s, it's happened. All of it. All of it. And for
Have you considered teaching that?
I do. I teach it now on a lower level. I haven't really started to advertise my business too much yet. I'm still kind of getting my ducks in a row, but I'm certified by the Chopra Center. I've got 3 certifications. I'm certified in Ayurveda, meditation, and life coaching. So part of my life coaching is I use the Chopra Center's 4 cornerstones model, but I tailor make that coaching to fit my clients' needs, and teaching them how to consciously create is part of that. And the envisioning is a huge piece of that. And I've created a lot of my own guided visualizations, and they're on my website and they're on YouTube. And so that's a huge, huge part of what I do.
And that's part of why you've experienced what you've experienced, because it makes your story so much, your story is profound, and it is part of, it really supports what you're doing. So if you're teaching, the reason why I asked you that is because what's coming in right now is that don't wait. Start talking about this now, like on whether it's on your show, on social media. The certifications are great, but they say this all the time. Your life experience and what you've learned and the profound outcome from where you were before to where you are now, and a lot of that is due to you really, they're saying, like digging in and really moving into the manifestation mindset, right? And you have completely shifted your life. So while the certifications are really supportive and have given you additional tools, your life story and your experience is where the power lies. So they're saying, don't wait, get out there and start sharing this now. I mean, if you can manifest and create the life that you're in now, after everything you've experienced the first 30 years of your life, think about how many people are in what they consider dire straits right now in difficult circumstances, and they're waiting for you to come online and share your stories so they can start manifesting the life that they desire as well. It's this is part of what you're here to do.
Yeah, people really, really do need help. They really do.
Mm-hmm.
And the clients that I've worked with so far, man, there's an overarching theme with all of them. Although their situations are different, their experiences are different, they have trauma. They have trauma. And who they are is based on a lie. And I have experienced that firsthand. And those conversations always come into play. And I do not mind telling my story. When I decided to become an author, I thought, you know what, this vulnerability, that's one of my superpowers. And I do not care to share all of it because I don't ever want anybody to be intimidated to just give this a try.
Mm.
And some of the teachers and spiritual mentors that I had, they were all wonderful, genius, highly intellectual people that had accomplished unbelievable things, but they didn't all come across as human.
Mm-hmm.
And the relatability piece of this was very important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I have always been willing to tell my story, openly speak about it, because everything about me is real and human. And my stories are everybody's stories. And everybody has trauma, no matter what. And if you don't realize it, it comes out. It comes out, and it manifests into things that you don't want. And we're always manifesting. It's not just about manifesting what you want. We're always manifesting. In the first 30 years of my life, I manifested a bunch of shit that I didn't want. But it took me to get aware of that. And I just want to make sure that the people who are listening hear us have this conversation right here. Because if somebody would have told me that when I was young, I would have operated a lot differently.
But that's
And
why you experienced those things is, again, going back to soul contracts, it was part of your soul contracts because you're here to teach and inspire and encourage is what they're saying, and show what's possible. And who better to learn that from than someone who actually has been there, right? So
that's right.
what they always say, they're reminding me, they always bring this example in. If you were a smoker and you wanted to quit smoking, would you go to someone who's read a bunch of books on quitting smoking but they've never smoked, or would you go to someone who's read no books but they smoked their whole life and they haven't smoked for 10 years and they're teaching you how to do that?
Right.
We want to learn from that person.
Right.
So they're saying everything you experienced up to everything you experienced, period, but the hardships and trauma, etc., for the first 30 years of your life was contracted by you so that you could have those experiences, so that you could speak to those people. You're speaking to the people who are in that space, who are experiencing those things, and those people would not be drawn to someone who had an easy life and who hadn't overcome trauma, right? So
Right.
you're here to help people, and they're reminding me, the system is not set up to truly help people heal trauma, because the more people that are in trauma, who are in fear, who continue to manifest more of that, continue to manifest the life that they want us to be in, which is one of control, right? So that's what we're here to do. We came to help those people. So you came and incarnated and said, I'm going to come and I'm going to help people learn how to manifest an individual life that they truly desire, so that we can have a better collective experience and start changing Earth, really.
Right.
So you're part of the big picture, and your story is important. And you're not just working with one-on-one. Maybe you are right now, but you're definitely meant to be working with groups and sharing the story and helping groups of people move through and learn how to manifest something different, because it's not just going to impact their life. When you're operating, I did some videos on this, but when you're operating at a higher scale of authenticity and love, those are like the highest vibrations you can be in. You have a ripple effect out to millions of people. So every individual person you help, whether it's one-on-one or in a group, they have a ripple effect out into the collective. So you experienced all this in order to teach others.
Well, that is certainly inspiring, and I appreciate you sharing all of that with me. I mean, this has been This has been fabulous, and I did not expect to also get like advice myself. And so this is great because I live for this sort of thing. I live for this sort of thing. And I'll tell you this, and then I want to use our last few minutes for you to talk about your new membership community. I have a buddy that is in a Akashic Records expert, and I have a reading about once a year. And I
Cool.
had a session with her yesterday because we've been working together on some projects.
Yeah.
And so she just, gave me a little session while we were, getting some work done. She told me the exact same thing. The exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like, exact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this information coming in for you that I'm channeling here without even, I'm here with you, but they're here and they're speaking through me. They're saying that you heard this yesterday and you're hearing it again today. They told me to share this with you, so I did, and I shared it with you. This is to help give you even more confirmation about what they're saying. It's time to go bigger. They're saying you're here and you're making a difference, but it's time to go bigger now. So today was about confirming for you what you heard yesterday and probably other times as well, to give you even more confidence to go big. It's time to help even more people.
Well, so Will is sitting back here in his little sound booth, and I called him into my office this morning. I was acting like I probably was giving off like President of the United States vibes, like I was being serious. And he comes into the office, and I'm talking about these two new projects that I'm wanting to launch. And he asked a couple questions, and I said, listen, I'm absolutely taking the lead. I'm the boss on this. I'm not waiting on anybody any freaking more. I'm not wasting any more damn time. I mean, I was like this is it. It's making it happen. And I wasn't going to get in, to all of that like a minute ago, but I need to get into it because it's highly relevant. And so, yeah, it's no coincidence. I mean, I had the conversation with him this morning. I had the conversation with somebody else, and I'm like, I've done all of this work. It's time to scale it. It's time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a synchronicity.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Thank you.
It's
Thank you so
222.
much.
It's 222 here, by the way. So another
Oh
synchronicity.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
222 is a big one. I
But
see that all the time.
this is your team. I know it's not 222 for you, but it is here. And they just said, look at the clock. And I looked and I said, oh, it's 222. So they said, tell her it's 222. So this is your confirmation and your synchronicities that what you're feeling, the nudges you're getting, these downloads you're getting, that it's time. It's time. They've been telling me like 2025, it's go time. It's go time. We're here. You're a star seed. You're here to help create the new earth. So these nudges you're getting are from your higher self. There is a version of this that's already been done because time is an illusion, they're saying. So here we live in linear time, but technically time doesn't exist. So you've already done it, and they're telling you it's time to get on it now because and trust that you have a whole team that's here to support you. Your higher self's already done it. It's already built. It's already done. You just have to now follow the nudges that she's giving you to take the steps and move forward.
That's fabulous. Thank
Yeah.
you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I need to book a session with you too. So on that note, yeah, let's use the rest of the time we've got. I want to hear all about your membership community. Have you launched it?
It's not launched yet. I'm a very process logical. Have to put everything together. So earlier they've been telling me for a couple of years to put this membership community together, and I said, well, what is it for? Who's it for? What am I doing here? And so I've been asking them all year, make it clear, and it's become very clear. It's called the New Earth Collective, and it should be launched by the end of the year. So you can go on my website and sign up to be notified of when I launch it, and I'll be creating a wait list soon and a sales page and all that, so you can see all that on my website. But
Okay.
it's a private membership community for really new earth leaders. So people like yourself who want to make a difference. They're awake. They're spiritually awake people that feel the calling. They want to make a difference, but they're not sure how. And there's going to be monthly teachings around soul contracts and life mission and blueprint, etc. So I'm going to be doing teachings and live Q&As. It's also about bringing in other new earth new earth practitioners, entrepreneurs, soulpreneurs, heart-led business leaders that have created something within their realm. So for instance, like somatic healing, or somebody who's making natural medicine, or people who work with children. This community is for people who want to make a difference and want to learn how to support other businesses that are outside of the system, so we can allow those systems to collapse, and we can start creating our own little network and directory of how to support smaller businesses. So it's super exciting. I'm super excited about it. And yeah, more information coming. So sign up on my website to hear more. But it is for new earth leaders that are here to make a difference, and you feel like a calling to do more.
That sounds great. I've never really heard of anything set up like that before. It's almost like you've got like a whole bunch of support systems just under one umbrella. That's pretty cool. And I'll tell you, for those who are listening, there's a strong possibility that by the time this podcast episode airs, you'll probably have your membership community launched. And so I'll make sure that all of that is included with this episode, so people can easily find you and join and all that good stuff. And
I forgot one piece.
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
The piece that I'm most excited about, and now I know why I have experienced everything I had in my life in business. When I would take over the lowest performing teams, I would come in, and I was the only person that did this, and I would be told not to do it. When I would present the idea, I was told every time, nope, don't do that. We don't do that here. And I would do it anyway. Creating communities. So creating a space for people to come together. Because what I realized is that I don't have all the answers. You don't have all the answers, but together we have the answers. So I would pull people together and teach them how to learn from each other and coach and teach each other. And I used to create community, and that's how I would get such quick, rapid improvement in my performance. So in the marketing territories performance. So now I know that that's a gift. It's actually one of my past lives was creating community in the divine feminine space. And what I'm doing in this community, one of my favorite things is that once a month we're going to have like a meet and greet, and it might be theme based. So anyone who wants to talk about like supplemental education for children, or people want to talk about natural healing modalities, or people who want to talk about channeling, whatever it is, we're going to have a meet and greet, and people will dial into Zoom, and I will put people into rooms of like 5 or 6 people and give them a couple of questions to get started and connect and start sharing their stories and start building relationships. Because what I found when I started interviewing people for the community to find out what the need was, is that one of the main desires is community. People don't feel like they have really anyone in their life to talk to about their awakening, about their spiritual experiences, about the calling, what they're being called to do. Their family is not awake yet, and they feel like the black sheep. So this was a huge reason for me wanting to launch the community, is the monthly community creating. So I'm going to have an app where people will be able to communicate throughout the week, and build relationships within the app. There will be sub communities for, again, like conscious education, natural healing, if you extraterrestrials, whatever some 5 main topics people might want to talk about, and then monthly coming together to actually meet over Zoom to get to know each other and create community. So that's going to be one of my big, one of the things that I'm most excited about.
I hope that anybody who feels like that they have these psychic gifts and talents, if they feel like they have to keep it to themselves to please somebody else, or maybe they're embarrassed about it or confused, or whatever the case may be, this is a place they can go and stay forever.
Yeah,
I always tell people, if you've left organized religion and you feel like you don't have a place to go, this is it. This is it. And I think that's fantastic. And I hope that you help people cultivate those talents, and so they can use them to their advantage and learn to live with them. And because that's a whole other thing. I mean, that could be a whole other episode. So I think it's great. And I have every intention of joining your membership community myself. I can't wait for you to get it up and running. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd love to have you. You're going to be one of the guest speakers that comes in and talks about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the whole point. I I might be the leader and the creator of this, but that's why we're going to have guest speakers every single month presenting their magic and talking about their gifts, because that will in turn encourage other people to do the same and maybe step into creating a business for themselves that exemplifies their gifts and gets that out to there to the collective. There just needs to be a space that people feel encouraged to do that. And so many awakened people they don't feel encouraged to do that because they're not surrounded by people that are encouraging that. So
Right.
yeah, that's the point, is creating a directory of people that we can go to and support within, the awakening community.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I've loved this. Thank you so much, Heather. I've loved every minute of it. I live for these types of conversations. I love it. I love it. And I have gotten so much great information from you today, and I've learned so much. Oh my God. This has been great. Absolutely fabulous.
My cup is full. My cup feels full as well.
Oh my goodness, mine too.
The Thought Snob Podcast with Paula Swope has been brought to you by Thought Snob Media in association with Special Purpose Studios. All production, mixing, and sound engineering by me, Will Swope. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Please take a few seconds to give us 5 stars and leave a review. See you on the next Thought Snob Podcast with Paula Swope.